Let's be honest, the AI boom has felt absolutely world-changing, hasn't it? We're talking trillion-dollar companies, demos that look like magic, and just a constant flood of headlines. But here's the thing. If you zoom out and look at the actual history of artificial intelligence, it is not a story of steady, upward progress. Not at all. It's a roller coaster of insane hype, followed by some pretty spectacular crashes. So let's get into what's really going on here.
And that brings us to the big question, the one that's on everyone's mind right now. Are we on the verge of another one of those busts? There's this feeling in the air in early 2026 that the crazy, explosive growth is finally starting to cool off, and a lot of people are wondering, wait a minute, have we seen this movie before?
Because AI's past is not a straight shot to the future. It really is a roller coaster. You get these incredible highs, fueled by these huge, ambitious promises, followed by these terrifying drops into what people call AI winters. That's when all the funding disappears, and even saying the word AI becomes kind of toxic. And you know what? Understanding this cycle is the absolute key to figuring out where we are today.
So let's actually break that pattern down. For decades, AI has followed this super predictable cycle of hype and then, well, disappointment. You can think of it like a story that just keeps repeating itself, always in 4 distinct acts.
Here are those 4 phases. It all starts with a trigger. A really cool new breakthrough like ChatGPT that just blows everyone's minds. That sends us rocketing up to the peak, where money is just pouring in based on what the tech could do someday, not what it's actually making. Then comes the crash, the trough, or the AI winter. This is when the tech hits a wall. Those big promises start to look empty and investors just bolt. But finally, after the crash, we get to the enlightenment. This is where the stuff that actually worked gets quietly built into the software we use every day. It becomes useful, but it's not magic anymore.
Okay, so you might be thinking, that's a nice little theory, but is it real? Oh yeah, it's real. Let's just take a quick look back at history, because this is definitely not AI's first time on this exact roller coaster.
This timeline just lays it all out. The hype kicks off way back in 1956 with this wild promise of actual thinking machines. But just 10 years later, a big government report comes out and says, yeah, about that automatic translation, it's slower, worse, and way more expensive than just hiring a person. And poof, the funding vanishes. Then, in 1973, another bombshell report basically says AI is stuck on toy problems and can't handle the real world. That triggers the first big AI winter. The whole cycle happens again in the 80s with these things called expert systems, which died overnight when cheap PCs just got good enough to beat them.
And wow, to really get a feel for the mood back then, just look at this quote from that 1973 Lighthill report. It is just brutal. It perfectly captures that feeling of disillusionment when all the grand promises just smash against the hard wall of reality. This report was so devastating, it basically took a sledgehammer to the UK's entire AI research community.
So let's get to the why. Why did these winters actually happen? Well, the first ones were all about economic and mathematical failures. AI was either way too expensive or it just couldn't scale. As problems got more complicated, the number of possibilities would just explode, and the AI would choke. The next winter was a hardware failure. These pricey, specialized AI machines just couldn't compete with cheap personal computers. See the pattern? In every single case, the root problem was a lack of capability. The tech just wasn't good enough.
Which, of course, brings us to today. The generative AI explosion that kicked off in 2022, it looks eerily familiar, doesn't it? We had the trigger, we had the peak of insane hype. So were we just watching a rerun?
You see, this whole boom was built on one big idea, something called the scaling hypothesis. And it was a really simple, powerful idea. If you just make the models bigger, feed them more data, throw more computing power at them, they will just keep getting smarter. Forever. It's this one belief that justified spending hundreds of billions of dollars building this massive global infrastructure.
But now, we're hitting a wall again. And okay, this is the most important part of this whole explainer, so listen close. The slowdown we're seeing in 2026, what some are calling the Great Normalization, it's not like the winters of the past. The industry is slamming into a completely new and different kind of barrier.
And this slide right here is the whole ballgame. In the past, AI winters happened because the technology fundamentally could not do what people promised. The wall it hit was theoretical, a limit in the math itself. Today, the problem isn't capability, it's unsustainable scale. The AI can solve these incredible problems, but the cost of doing it is becoming absolutely unbearable. This time, the wall isn't theoretical. It's physical.
So let's talk about that economic wall. To make sense of the insane amount of money spent on data centers and chips in 2025, the AI industry needed to bring in something like $600 billion in new revenue every year.
But this is what was really going on. This chart shows what people started calling the air gap. You had over $500 billion being spent on infrastructure, while the actual revenue coming in from generative AI software was less than $100 billion. That massive gap between money out and money in, well, it's just not sustainable. And that is exactly what triggered the huge wave of layoffs and budget cuts that we saw.
Now for the physical wall, and this number is just staggering. By 2026, AI data centers were already eating up 4% of all electricity in the entire United States, and the projections showed that climbing to 9% by 2030, which started to threaten the stability of the whole national power grid.
So, this great normalization is being driven by these hard physical limits. We've talked about the energy wall and the ROI wall, the return on investment. But there's a third one, the data wall. We are literally running out of high-quality, human-made stuff on the internet to train new models on. These three walls together are forcing a major change in strategy. So what happens now? Well, this isn't the end of AI, not even close. What's happening is that these new constraints are forcing the industry to finally grow up, to pivot to a whole new strategy. We're watching AI shift from being magic to being just a normal, mundane, practical utility.
So yeah, the scaling hypothesis, it's dead. The brute force era of bigger is better is over, simply because we've hit the physical limits of our planet. The new mantra, the pivot that's defining 2026 and beyond, is smaller is smarter.
And what does that actually look like? Well, the industry is now focused on two key areas. First, you have small language models, or SLMs. These are super efficient little models that are designed to do one specific thing really well, right on your own computer. And second, Edge AI. That just means processing data right on your phone or your device, instead of sending it all the way to some giant energy-hungry data center. It's cheaper, it's faster, and it's way more private.
So here's the crucial takeaway. The slowdown of 2026 isn't another catastrophic AI winter. It's not a deep freeze. It's more like a pruning. The industry is just cutting back all the unsustainable, hype-driven branches so that healthier, more economically rational stuff can actually grow.
And this all leads us to a really powerful new reality for the 21st century, something we can call energy intelligence equivalence. It means that, for the first time in history, we can put a direct physical price tag on intelligence. The cost of running a really complex AI model is now directly tied to the real-world cost of a kilowatt-hour of electricity. Intelligence isn't just an abstract idea anymore. It's a function of energy.
And that leaves us with one heck of a question for the future. As this new reality sinks in, the entire race for AI dominance might completely change. The winner isn't just going to be the company with the smartest coders and the best algorithms anymore. The winner might just be the company that has locked down the cheapest, most abundant source of power. The AI wars of the future, they might be fought on the power grid. Now that is a thought to leave you with.